Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only the best. I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only the best. I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
Hey everybody, how are you on this Thursday? I hope your day is going well. It is back to being cold and rainy/snowy here in upstate New York. Not really excited about it, but it gives me time to get things done that I didn't get done yesterday or Tuesday. So I decided to go live early today, a little bit earlier than normal, so that I can get those things done after. So thanks for being here. I see Okie Crime News was here really early. And she says, I've been keeping a close eye on this one. Now they're saying that the altercation is not the result of her death. They're waiting on other reports. Yes. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Hey, Gina, AMAC, Sinner, Tasha, Glow, good to see you. Montgomery verdict is in. Yes, I didn't cover that case, so I know the basics about it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Hey, Tazzy, me, good to see you. Tracy Esme, thanks for being here. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anybody because I was reading comments and not really looking at names. 42 there. Currently it is 36. It is 36. Feels like 31. And it is currently like a mix. So we're getting rain, kind of like sleet. Yep. But next week's supposed to be in the 50s. So I feel like spring is going to be here soon. Especially since it's hard to believe, that next week is the last week of February already. So we're on our way, very close to spring. So I'm excited. You're driving and listening. All right, well, drive safe. So this case that I'm going to be talking about is about a non-binary teen named Nex Benedict, and they were in the school is calling it an altercation. I'm going to say they were involved in a fight at school on February 7th, and the school released Dex to their parent. The parents brought them to the hospital. Hospital released them. The following day, on February 8th, Dex died. And I'm really surprised that I hadn't seen this story before today, because this happened 3 weeks ago. And it just got into mainstream media a couple of days ago. And as Oki had said at the beginning, the comment, one of the most recent updates is that the medical examiner was not able to determine the cause of death. However, the medical examiner stated that the injury sustained in the fight or the altercation were not the cause of death. So, excuse me, I'm interested to know why the medical examiner is able to say that the injury sustained in the fight did not cause the death, but that the cause of death was undetermined. Again, I'm not a medical examiner. I don't know how they make their decisions, or, based on their observations, but that is one thing that I am wondering myself. The other thing that I've seen in a lot of the news stories and video clips is that many are upset with the school's response to said fight. And I can only speak from my experience in New York State, but I did look up, well, I tried. It's very difficult to find a specific code of conduct. Oklahoma does have their own code of conduct on the education department's website, but it's almost like a template that schools can use, and then they fill in what they want their expectations to be. In New York State, we have what is called safe schools. So I will talk about that a little bit at the end, just to give an idea of, how schools in New York State respond to such incidents. But I would recommend everyone who has kids in school look at your code of conduct, because that will determine what happens in situations like this. I can say in, the time that I've been teaching, the only time that police are called is usually when there's a weapon involved, because that has now become a crime. It is a criminal offense. Or when there has been a fight where one of the said participants were severely injured. So normally, if there's a fight, kids are, bleeding, they're hurt, the school nurse will arrive on site. She will do a basic, evaluation, vital signs, things like that. If the nurse deems them in need of medical attention, 911 will be called. If the nurse deems their injuries are not severe, so say they have a bruise, or, their tooth went through their lip, something like that, that the student will be released to their parent. And at that point, it is the parent's choice whether or not to seek medical attention. Personally, it is my opinion that when and if that should ever happen to your child, you should always seek medical attention. And in this case, with Dex, their parents did seek medical attention. They brought Dex to the hospital. Hospital released them. And then the following day, they were dead. So it's definitely complex, I think is a good word. So we're going to get into Dex's story and hopefully bring some attention to this across the country, because this isn't the first time that this has happened, and it's not going to be the last, unfortunately. Hey, Jeannie and Sunnyside, thanks for being here. So I'm going to start first with an article. And this is from The Advocate. So there is a photo of Dex. Again, they are a non-binary teen, which means they do not identify as a male or female. So they're just them. And I'm going to try my best to refer to Dex either by name or by them. I'm being very cognizant of what I say, because I'm so used to saying he or she that, I try my best. And just like Dex had, requested to be referred to by they, I have students who go by he when they were biologically born a female, or vice versa. And again, I'm going to respect the student based on what they inform me that their pronouns are, or some students even ask to be called by a different name. And I will respect their request. Sometimes I will forget because legally that's not their name, but I do try. So if I accidentally refer to Dex other than them, please note that it wasn't deliberate. It was just, like they say, a slip of the tongue. But I am going to try my best to refer to Dex as them. Yes, and thank you, AMAC. And speaking of the GoFundMe, Nex. So I thought it was Nex, but one of the articles said Dex. Weird. It is Nex. I've been saying Dex. It's Nex. I apologize. Nex. Yeah, one of the articles I read said Dex, but it is Nex, N-E-X. Yes, and their GoFundMe, they actually have already raised close to $40,000 in honor of Nex, and they have I believe that they've used some of those funds because the amount has gone down significantly. But thanks for sharing that, AMAC. Thank you, Gina. I try. I am trying, and it's tough, but it's okay. So let me go back to, again, I'm sorry, I was saying Dex, it's Nex. So again, this was written on February 20th, so 2 days ago. In Oklahoma, the death of a transgender student after they were assaulted in a school bathroom has sparked widespread outrage and sorrow. Nex Benedict, a sophomore at Owasso High School, was brutally beaten by other students earlier this month and died the following day. The incident has drawn national attention, with many attributing the violent act to a culture of transphobia they say is being stoked by state officials. And again, I chose this article because it did give, a summary of the events. The assault on Benedict, 16, happened on February 7th when 3 older girls attacked them in the girls' bathroom. A teacher intervened to stop the fight. Staff didn't call an ambulance, the outlet noted. Benedict's grandmother, who was their guardian, took the teenager to the hospital that day. They went back the next day after Benedict became ill. Benedict died that evening. The grandmother, Sue Benedict, told The Independent that her child had been the subject of months of intensifying bullying that began earlier in 2023 after Oklahoma's Republican-led government barred transgender students from using school bathrooms that align with their gender identity. That it had gotten, she told the outlet. And that is something I did not know, is that the government barred transgender students from using school bathrooms that align with their gender. In at least the past several years, we have single-use bathrooms, and there's several reasons for that. But it doesn't matter what your gender is. If you have to use the bathroom, you use whatever one's open. So there's no, male or female signs at school. It's just people. You gotta go, you gotta go. You just use whatever one's open. Yeah, Gina, that is something that they were doing, gosh, when I first started teaching. So that was, almost 20 years ago. If students didn't feel comfortable using the bathroom that they identified with, that you would go to the nurse's office, or there were sometimes bathrooms in, I'm trying to think. There was one more place that they were able to use the bathroom, and I don't remember what it was. But usually the nurse is where, a lot of them would go. So it is progressing. I can say that firsthand. However, it seems like some of the states are regressing, which is sad. Benedict told their grandmother that they and another trans student had fought the other students in the bathroom, according to The Independent. The teen told her they'd hit her head on the floor. Sue Benedict said she was told by the school that her grandchild had received a 2-week suspension after the assault. She said she was enraged that medical services weren't called, even though Nex had bruises on their face. So again, it's important to check your school's code of conduct. And I did look up in Google. I just Googled, do schools in Oklahoma have to call the police? And they did send me to the Oklahoma School Discipline Laws and Regulations. And it also cites Oklahoma statutes. So Oklahoma school districts and charter schools are not obligated to report misconduct between students, such as fighting, if the school routinely addresses it as a disciplinary matter. However, school officers and employees are required to notify law enforcement of verbal threats or threatening behavior. So, for example, if someone is threatening, they're doing a bomb threat or they're threatening to bring a weapon to school, that is when schools are required to notify law enforcement. But when it comes to physical altercations that have already occurred or are occurring, they are not obligated to call law enforcement. and then it goes on to say students can face disciplinary charges for fights or other altercations at school-sponsored events, even if they happen off campus. Some schools require an out-of-school suspension, while others accept an in-school suspension. In some cases, students could get expelled. So again, that is from Oklahoma School Discipline Laws and Regulations. Hey, Lacey Ann, thanks for being here. Hey, Corinne, I've been seeing a lot of school fights in Twitter. These fights are very bad. Yes, and that actually, you always know, at least, well, you, me, staff at schools, we always knew when a fight was going to happen. One, because kids talk. They can't not talk. But in the hallways, students would have their phones ready to video. So when you see a group of kids with their phones ready to hit record, you knew something was going to happen. And that is one thing that is also it's trying to be stopped, because students can record a fight and airdrop it to everyone in the vicinity in seconds. So getting students who have the video and to delete it is troublesome. And sometimes it's just, you're not going to get every kid who has had it or who has shared it. But I agree, phones definitely have caused issues. Oh my goodness, Lacey Ann, my 15-year-old showed me a video of a girl getting beat up by 3 girls with those huge Stanley cups. She lost her phone that day. Bathroom is a usual place because no cameras. Yes, and one of the video clips did say that the school, the employee that was outside of that broke up the fight, or I will say altercation, because it seems to me, just based on everything that I've read, that this was a one-sided assault. It wasn't a fight between two people who had a beef with each other. It was one group of students who were assaulting other students. So I'm gonna refer to it as an assault or an altercation, because it wasn't a fight. But the school employee was stationed outside the restrooms, which I know we have security monitors that are outside the bathrooms. The past, several years, we've had a security officer outside of the bathrooms, and only one student is allowed in the bathroom at a time because of that reason. And the bathrooms are always locked. So in order to get into the restroom to use the bathroom, you have to have an adult open it for you. So there are safeguards in place. However, it seems that those may not have been in place in Owasso. Is it Owasso? Let me just make sure I have the name of the school right. Owasso, yes. Okay. Oh, and Alexa, I wasn't talking to you, but thank you. Apparently her name is Owasso now. Problem is bathrooms need to be monitored too. Time that someone needs to be there. Yeah, I agree. Oh no, the poor kid's nose was flat, Lacey Ann. And the one you're talking about with your daughter that your daughter showed you? I've been against zero tolerance policies in schools since I was in school. Victims being suspended for being jumped and defending themselves makes me angry, very angry. Agreed. And that's why it's important to look at your school's code of conduct, because years ago, there was a student in my room who was just being a student in her desk, and some student walked into the room for no reason, who wasn't assigned to my room, and started beating up this girl who was sitting at her desk. And myself and other staff advocated for that student who was the victim. They should not be suspended because they were not at fault. They were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and this person decided to make a bad choice, come into an unassigned room, and start beating on this other person. So again, you have to make sure you know your school's code of conduct, because some schools it's, there's no argument. Other schools say there's no argument, but they do listen to argument, if that makes sense. Okay, Braze, I was in an alternative school, way different rules from public ones. Hey, Mr. Nobody, how's it going? I agree, Corinne. They definitely need, but staffing, having, and I know in New York, every school in New York has an RSO, but I don't know if every state has that. So we do have an armed police officer in each school. Let's see. I'm going to just start here again because we kind of were discussing. So Benedict told their grandmother that they and another trans student had fought the other students in the bathroom. The teen told her they'd hit their head on the floor. Sue Benedict said she was told by the school that her grandchild had received a 2-week suspension after the assault. She said she was enraged that medical services weren't called, even though Nex had bruises on their face. I was very open with my children to be who and what they thought was best. They could talk to me about anything as long as that respect goes both ways. A child needs to figure out who they are and what they want to be, and you cannot force it upon them. I completely agree with her. Nex did not see themselves as male or female. Nex saw themselves right down the middle. I was still learning about it. Nex was teaching me that. Owasso Police Department Chief Dan Yancey provided a statement to the Advocate, shedding light on the investigation's progress. On February 7th, 2024, at approximately 3:30 p.m., the Owasso Police Department was summoned to a local hospital in reference to a report of a student who had been involved in a physical altercation at the Owasso High School prior to the end of school that day. No report of the incident was made to the Owasso Police Department prior to the notification at the hospital. Information was taken by a school resource officer. Okay, so that answers my question. They did have an SRO. Information was taken by a school resource officer who responded to the hospital. On February 8th, 2024, the Owasso Police Department was made aware that the juvenile was rushed back to a hospital where the student was pronounced dead. It is not known at this time if the death is related to the incident at the school or not. A thorough investigation is being conducted by Owasso police detectives who are currently awaiting an autopsy report and toxicology results. Yancey continued, "We understand that people are concerned about this incident, and we can assure everyone that this incident is being taken seriously and is being investigated thoroughly. Detectives are and will be interviewing school staff and students over the course of the next 2 weeks, and in turn, will be submitting our investigation to the Tulsa County District Attorney's Office for prosecution review. A final cause and manner of death will be determined by the State Medical Examiner's Office. This incident has ignited a debate about the safety of transgender and non-binary students in schools, the responsibility of educational leaders to foster inclusive environments, and the potential consequences of spreading harmful ideologies. Ryan Walters, Oklahoma's Superintendent of Public Instruction, is facing intense scrutiny over his ties to Chaya Raichik, the figure behind the far-right Libs of TikTok hate account, and for their outspoken stance against transgender rights. Critics argue that Walters' rhetoric and policies have contributed to an environment that enables hate crimes. Heartbroken to learn about the non-binary student who was beaten to death at their Owasso school. That same district was targeted by the self-described stochastic terrorist who runs Libs of TikTok. Chaya Raichik now sits on Oklahoma's Library Advisory Board, wrote Oklahoma City News anchor Wendy Suarez on X, formerly Twitter. So again, this article was from the 20th, and that was before the medical examiner's report came out on February 21st, which was yesterday, I believe. So it was believed that Nex was beaten so badly at school, it resulted in their death. So we're going to go to some news clips now, I just wanted to give a background of Hey, Ashtastic. Good to see you. Yeah, Christiane, I agree. And it, again, there's always going to be those, instigators, so to speak. I agree, K-Braze. Everyone deserves a safe place to learn. No matter who you are, you should be excited to go to school, not afraid. Agreed. Okay.
Covering news that matters. Fox 23 News at 5 starts right now.
Owasso police are investigating after a 16-year-old Owasso high school student died. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shay Rozzi.
And I'm John Asiba. Sarah Whaley is on assignment. Earlier this week, police say the girl got into a fight at school, but then died a day later. In a developing story, Fox 23's Tanya Motorzitsky is live after spending the day in Owasso. Tanya, trying to learn some more.
John and Shay, there's still no word on if the fight is linked to the girl's death. There's not a whole lot of information that the police or school district is releasing just yet.
At Owasso High School, the flag blows in the wind and students' cars fill the parking lots. But there's one less student today. Owasso police say on Wednesday around 3:30, they went to Bailey Medical Center in Owasso. They learned a 16-year-old girl was in a fight toward the
Lisa, this is in Oklahoma, and I did just look up Owasso, which is northeast of Tulsa. It's a city of about 40,000.
Toward the end of the school day. Police say the school resource officer was also there. Thursday, investigators were told the girl was rushed back to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. Police say they do not know if the latest medical incident is related to the fight or not. No other information is being released at this time because of HIPAA, a privacy protection law. The Owasso Police Department has notified district leaders of the death of an Owasso high school student. The student's name and cause of death have not been made public as this is an active police investigation. We will have no additional comment at this time. Further inquiries should be directed to the Owasso Police Department. In a story I did last summer about violence in schools, Paul Croft with the Owasso Public Schools says they're seeing a stagnant number in violence.
We haven't seen an uptick in any fights or anything of that nature in our buildings. It's been kind of, your typical fight here or there.
However, they are encouraging if you see something, say something.
On our district website, you can go on there and there's a place where you can go to the safety security page, or there's a couple other places where you can find a place to report if something's going on.
Right. And so he's saying this is for, I believe that says Broken Arrow Public Schools. So again, always important to look at your schools, your individual schools' code of conduct and how they proceed in these incidents. And again, just for those of you who may be coming in, according to Oklahoma school discipline laws and regulations, Oklahoma school districts and charter schools are not obligated to report misconduct between students, such as fighting, if the school routinely addresses it as a disciplinary matter, which most schools do. However, school officers and employees are required to notify law enforcement of verbal threats or threatening behavior.
Investigators have not released the name of the girl just yet. The school district did have counselors there for folks who are grieving. Now, police say the next round of information will come when the autopsy is released. Live covering News That Matters, I'm Tanya Motor-Zitsky, Fox 23 News.
Oops. Sorry, I didn't want to play that again. So I am going to go to this article next, which is it was updated today. And according to the medical examiner, non-binary teen in Oklahoma did not die of injuries sustained in school fight. Nex Benedict's family says teen had been harassed. And again, there is a photo of Nex. A 16-year-old Oklahoma high school student who died a day after an altercation in a school restroom that may have been prompted by bullying over gender identity did not die as a result of injuries sustained in the fight, police said Wednesday. Police in the suburban Tulsa community of Owasso are investigating the death of 16-year-old Nex Benedict, whose family said identified as non-binary and used they/them pronouns. Although the cause of death has not been determined, Owasso police said in a statement, preliminary autopsy results indicate the teen did not die as a result of injuries sustained in the fight. At this time, any further comments on the cause of death are currently pending until toxicology results and other ancillary testing results are received. Neither police nor school officials have said what led to the fight, but Benedict's family says there had been harassment because of the teen's non-binary identity. While at Owasso High School, Nex was attacked and assaulted in a bathroom by a group of other students, the family said Wednesday in a statement released by their attorney. A day later, the Benedict's beautiful child lost their life. Police Lieutenant Nick Boatman said detectives are interviewing staff and students at the school to learn more about what happened. Benedict was able to walk out of the bathroom after the February 7th fight, but was taken to a hospital by their family and sent home that night. The next day, paramedics were dispatched to the home for a medical emergency and took Benedict to a hospital emergency room where they later died. Nex Benedict's mother, Sue Benedict, told The Independent the teens suffered bruises all over their face and eyes after they and a transgender student got into a fight in a school restroom with 3 other girls. I didn't know how bad it had gotten, Sue Benedict told the outlet. Malaya Pila, Nex Benedict's sister, described her sibling as a wonderful child that impacted all of us in ways that are difficult to truly articulate in their importance. We're deeply, deeply sad about their passing, she wrote in a text message Wednesday to the Associated Press. Sue Benedict said in a statement on a GoFundMe page set up to help cover funeral expenses that the family was still learning to use the teen's preferred name and pronouns. Please do not judge us as Nex was judged. Please do not bully us for our ignorance on the subject. Nex gave us that respect, and we are sorry in our grief that we overlooked them. Owasso police said in a statement on Tuesday that Nex Benedict died on February 8th, the day after the fight at the high school. Boatman said investigators will forward the results of that probe to the local district attorney to determine what, if any, charges should be filed. When asked if the students involved in the fight could be charged with a hate crime, Boatman said all crimes and charges will be on the table. Bullies must be held accountable, says Governor. School officials in Owasso, a suburb about 20 kilometers northeast of Tulsa, said in a statement a physical altercation occurred in a restroom and that students were in the restroom for less than 2 minutes before the fight was broken up by other students and a staff member. I don't know if I agree with that, Brianna Nashtastic. but I really hope it's not that. Oh, so let me see what Mr. Nobody had said. Okay, so there was another incident at a different school. AMAC, they're not saying that Nex did it themselves, no. The medical examiner has said cause of death has not been determined, but that the injury sustained in the fight did not cause said death, which to me is somewhat contradictory. Yes. And Lisa, thank you for the reminder. Please refer to Nex as they. Yes. They, or like I said at the beginning of this live, I'm doing my best. It's been so ingrained in our brains since birth. You know, it's he or she, but in this case, I'm trying my best to say they, or just call somebody by their name, because that's what the family is also saying. Say their name, Nex Benedict. So call them Nex, or refer to them as them. After the fight, each of the students walked under their own power to the assistant principal's office and the nurse's office, and school officials recommended to the parent of one of the students involved that they visit a medical facility for further examination. Police said they were not notified of the fight until the student arrived at the hospital and that a report was taken at that time. Oklahoma's Republican-led legislature has passed several new laws targeting transgender and non-binary people in recent years, including bills that prohibit children from receiving gender-affirming medical care and prohibiting the use of non-binary gender markers on birth certificates. Governor Kevin Stitt also has signed bills that prohibit transgender girls and women from playing on female sports teams and prevent transgender children from using school bathrooms that correspond to their gender identity. Stitt's office released a statement Wednesday on behalf of the governor and his wife, Sarah. Sarah and I are saddened to learn of the death of Nex Benedict, and our hearts go out to Nex's family, classmates, and the Wasso community. The death of any child in an Oklahoma school is a tragedy, and bullies must be held accountable. ACLU decries discriminatory policies. Among the many anti-trans bills being considered this year in Oklahoma are measures to ban gender-affirming care for adults, prohibit school employees from using a student's preferred pronouns if they don't correspond with the sex assigned at birth, and prohibit state laws or executive orders that recognize any gender besides male or female. What? Okay, so this is what caught my attention. That there are bills being considered that would prohibit school employees from using a student's preferred pronouns if they don't correspond with the sex assigned at birth. So is Oklahoma saying if a teacher respects the wishes of a child who identifies as a he when they were biologically born a she, that said employee could face disciplinary measures? Yeah, Lisa, right? I mean, I'm like, and he's saying there's no room for bullying, but yet these bills, I mean, this is insane. I don't get it. I feel like there's bigger issues in any state than whether or not a school employee refers to a student who identifies as a he and referring to them as such, but then being disciplined because the student wasn't born a he. It is bonkers. Right, Christy. They will fire a teacher for using preferred pronouns. That is insane to me. Insane. Wow. Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Schools Ryan Walters also has embraced anti-trans policies and faced bipartisan blowback after he appointed a right-wing social media influencer from New York known for posting anti-trans rhetoric to a state library panel. So, again, I don't want to make this a political debate because it is about Nex. However, how can the superintendent of public schools be that biased? I would think that an educator in that position, Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Schools, so I'm assuming that would be like the education commissioner here in New York, that they should be for every child and not try to push their agenda. That's just my opinion. And then it's going to get into that. I'm not going to read about that person on TikTok again because that's just gross. I saw a question. Has a teacher really been fired? I don't believe so yet, Sinner. I believe based on that article, it was something that they wanted. That's a bill that they were trying to. Let me just go back and look. So the ones that have gone through so far, so the legislature has passed several new laws targeting transgender and non-binary people, including bills that prohibit children from receiving gender-affirming medical care and prohibiting the use of non-binary gender markers on birth certificates. So that's already been put into law. And then the governor has also signed bills that prohibit transgender girls and women from playing on female sports teams and prevent transgender children from using school bathrooms that correspond to their gender identity. So those are the things that have been put in place. But this year is where it says bills being considered this year are measures to ban gender-affirming care for adults, prohibiting school employees from using a student's preferred pronoun, and prohibiting state laws or executive orders that recognize any gender besides male or female. So those are the ones in the works for this year. So nothing that would have happened so far. Oh, I know, Lisa. The mere threat of this insanity makes me want to throw things. I mean, what does it matter? Like, so, I'm Emmy, right? But say I want you to call me Crystal or Christopher. What does it matter? I mean, obviously if a student's name hasn't legally been changed, you have to, on report cards, things like that, you have to use their legally issued name. But in a classroom, if someone wants to be called Christopher when they were named Emmy, I'm going to call them Christopher. It doesn't hurt anyone at all. I don't get it.
To Oklahoma now. We're following a story out of that state, trying to piece together how a 16-year-old student died after a fight. This is out of Owasso, a town just 15 miles north of Tulsa. Police there say they never got a call from the school. They only learned about the fight, they say, once they arrived at the hospital on February 7th. They say the next day, this teenager was pronounced dead. Rahima Ellis is joining us now. And Rahima, in just the last few hours, we're getting a new statement from the school that's only raising more questions about what happened in this fight And importantly, what happened in the aftermath of it as it relates to accountability. Tell us more.
To start off, Hallie, I have to say that this is a tragedy all the way around in terms of what happened to this young 16-year-old sophomore at this high school. We just got a statement a little while ago, as you point out, from the school, and here's some of what they say. They say that the students were in the bathroom for about 2 minutes or less, and a fight broke out, a physical altercation between some students, along with a staff member who was supervising outside of the restroom. It was broken up by that staff member. They then go on to say all the students involved in the altercation walked out on their own power to the assistant principal's office and the nurse's office. So what happened then? While it was determined, the schools say, that an ambulance service was not required, out of an abundance of caution, it was recommended to one parent that their student visit a medical facility for further examination. Then we are told that they say...
And actually, I want to just back it up quick because I wanted to... So it says, well, it was determined that ambulance service was not required out of an abundance of caution. It was recommended to one parent that their student visit a medical facility. Yes. Okay. So that's like I had said at the beginning of the live, at least in the school that I've been at, and in my experience, unless it was deemed by the school nurse that medical attention, immediate medical attention was needed, 911 would not be called, and that they would recommend the child be brought to, the hospital, the doctor, or whatever. So unless it was a significant injury, 911 would not be called.
Examination. Then we are told that they say one of the reasons why police didn't know about this, as you pointed out earlier in an introduction to me, according to the school, it says, per district protocols, the parent or guardians of students involved in a physical altercation are notified and informed of the option to file a police report should they choose. Apparently.
And that is the same in New York State. If there is a fight between two students and one of the parents chooses to press charges against the other student who was the offender, they are more than legally in their right to do so. And it has happened, and it will continue to happen.
Apparently that didn't happen, but there's so many questions as to why the school didn't file a police report. This is an ongoing investigation, and authorities say until there is a medical examiner's report identifying the cause of death, which will come from an autopsy, and toxicology reports, they won't have much more to say about this. And it could take several weeks, maybe even 6 weeks before we have that information.
Wow, 6 weeks.
Hallie?
Rahima Ellis, appreciate you staying on top of this story. We'll look for any updates as we get them. Thanks.
Lisa, I don't believe the parents were doctors. No. You can't see a brain bleed. Yeah, and I'm curious as to not, what the actual hospital said. Like, what did they deem? Did they deem anything? Did they do tests? Did they run blood work? What, I think of, oh my gosh, was it Natasha Richardson who was skiing? She had a ski accident, and, she went home and she just never woke up again. And they didn't think, they just thought it was a concussion. And she ended up having an aneurysm and died. So that's the thing. I'm just curious as to, we're not hearing a lot about why 911 was called. So, again, I do think that, I don't know. It's definitely suspicious, because what are the coincidences that, this 16-year-old gets into a fight, goes to the hospital, is released, and the next day 911's called for a medical emergency. Could you imagine if it was because of the fight, how big this story would blow up and people looked at it so sad? I agree. Yeah, 6 weeks. Although, I mean, maybe they should, maybe the DA needs to step in and put a rush on it, pump it up to the top of the list.
To Oklahoma.
Oops, sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so this next one. Family member shares messages sent by 16-year-old Nex day before they passed.
Tonight, we are getting our first look at some of the final messages between an Owasso High School student and a family member before this student died. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shay Rossi.
And I'm Sarah Wadley. There are so many developments surrounding the 16-year-old student's death. Today, we confirmed with family the student went by the name Nex Benedict and used they.
Lisa, to answer your question, have the girls who beat them up been questioned? Young people. Oh, hang on one second, y'all. As of before I went live, there have not been any arrests. And it's been stated that law enforcement is still investigating.
They, them, their pronouns. We're pointing that out tonight because information first released used she, her pronouns.
Fox 23's Alex Cash is live with those messages and what they reveal.
That's right. A family member gave us this screenshot and permission to share it. It shows messages they say Nex sent to them on the night of the fight. This is 16-year-old Nex Benedict, and a family member says this screenshot shows messages they sent just...
Okay, and I'm sure they're going to read these, but I'm just going to pause here and read myself. So Wednesday, so again, let me just look. So February 7th. So February 7th was Wednesday, and they said it occurred around 3:30, or at least that's when the one article had said. So Nex says, I got jumped at school, 3-on-1, had to go to the ER. The family member responds, are you okay? Nex says, all good, just scrapes and bruises. Got a shot in the butt for my pain, but if I'm still dizzy and nauseous in the morning, I might have a concussion. So dizzy and nauseous is telling me that something was going on. Maybe not just a concussion. The family member responds, why did they jump you? What did the school do about it? Nex says, they had been bullying me and my friends, and I got tired of it, so I poured some water on them, and all three came after me. School did not report to the police and is probably getting sued. And then they retracted something out. Then they lost the girls after they made me and my friends separate, and one of my friends had to be escorted to his bus because they couldn't find them. They lost the girls? Oh, so it must have happened maybe after the bell rang. Let me just read that again. Then they lost the girls after they made me and my friends separate, and one of my friends had to be escorted to his bus because they couldn't find them. Oh, I see. So the girls who jumped Nex and their friend got away somehow. And they escorted the friend to his bus because they didn't know where the girls who had done the jumping were. And if it was at dismissal, I can see how that could happen, depending on how big the school is and how they run their dismissal. I know when I was in high school, when the last bell rang, we all just left like max exodus out the doors. And again, I don't fault the school employees, because it's my opinion that their focus would have been on attending to Nex and their I believe there was another friend in the bathroom. You know, we have walkie-talkies at work. So if this happens, like, we just go on the walkie-talkie and say, we need help. And then it's like everyone comes running to help. And then that way you can secure, you know, the offenders. So again, I don't know what this school protocol is or how it operates. I'm just going based on my experience. If someone gets away with assault in school, what does that teach them going into adulthood? Good question, Kay Braze. Yeah, Mr. Nobody, I agree too. It is confusing, but I'm learning. And that's, you know, that's all I can do is I when I know better, I do better. And I'm very aware of right, because in the past, if you say they, them, you think of a group of people or more than one, right? In this case, Nex, you know, identified as they, them, which, you know, more power to Nex. Oh my gosh, Remy, when I was jumped and left unconscious, we were all suspended. Yeah, see, I don't agree with that, because if, you know, like if you're a willing participant, absolutely. Like if it was an actual fight, sure, suspend everybody. But if someone was jumped, especially from behind, and then you're just defending yourself, I don't agree with you know, the victim or the person who is being jumped being suspended. But again, it has to do with the laws in your state. So always pay attention to what that code of conduct says and what your state laws are.
Just hours after a fight at Wasso High School, it shows Nex message saying, I got jumped at school, 3-on-1, had to go to the ER. Asked if they're okay, it shows Nex replying that they were all good, but with some scrapes and bruises. But they also say, if I'm dizzy or nauseous in the morning, I might have a concussion. The message.
So that makes me wonder, because this was a Wednesday. I'm curious if Nex went to school on Thursday, and if not, if they felt dizzy and nauseous the morning of the 8th, or were they feeling okay? And in that case, didn't go back to the hospital. Again, just this is very suspicious. In that, yeah, I don't really have any words at the moment.
Message then asks, why did they jump you? The reply says, they've been bullying me and my friends. I got tired of it, so I poured some water on them, and all 3 came after me. And goes on to say, school did not report to the police. Tuesday, Owasso Public Schools released a statement detailing their timeline of events. It says on February 7th, Nex was in a fight in a restroom at the Owasso High School West campus. That fight lasted less than 2 minutes, and it was broken up by other students and a staff member. The statement says all students involved walked to the assistant principal and nurse's office, and that it recommended to one parent that the student visit a medical facility.
Okay, and I did just go and find that press release. So I know they're just doing highlights, but I'm going to read the whole thing. So again, this is Owasso Public Schools. And it says, update on student passing. Owasso Public Schools has cooperated fully with the investigation by the Owasso Police Department surrounding the death of a high school student on February 8th, 2024. The district has limited its statements on the matter to this point due to the ongoing investigation in an effort to not disrupt police and out of respect and for the confidentiality for all involved. I did see that. They had cited HIPAA at one point. However, the speculation and misinformation surrounding the case has intensified in recent days. While there will still be pieces of information that the district will never be able to share due to federal privacy laws, we are reaching out to you today to address some of that misinformation, particularly statements that call into question the district's commitment to student safety and security. We understand the importance of ensuring a safe and inclusive environment for all students and know that the information below does not change the fact that a fight occurred on school grounds and a student passed away the next day. We have worked with police to ensure that the information provided below will not disrupt their investigation. On the afternoon of Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, a physical altercation occurred in a restroom at the Owasso High School West Campus. Students were in the restroom for less than 2 minutes, and the physical altercation was broken up by other students who were present in the restroom at the time, along with a staff member who was supervising outside of the restroom. Once the altercation was broken up, all students involved in the altercation walked under their own power to the assistant principal's office and nurse's office. District administrators began taking statements from the students present in the restroom and began contacting parents and/or guardians of the students involved in the physical altercation. So, does that mean they were able to locate the girls involved that seemingly got away? Following district protocols, each of the students involved in the altercation was given a health assessment by a district registered nurse. Per district protocol, students needing further support are transported to a medical facility either by ambulance or by a parent guardian, depending on the severity of the injuries and preference of the parent guardian. Okay, so that does read similar to New York State. So the registered nurse, the school nurse comes, gives, does an assessment, takes the vitals, and then it is deemed whether or not 911 is called. And this again is in reference to fights or physical altercations. When it comes to true medical emergencies, such as seizures, things like that, 911 is always called immediately. While it was determined that ambulance service was not required out of an abundance of caution, it was recommended to one parent that their student visit a medical facility for further examination. So I would assume in that case that it was Nex whose family was given that recommendation. Per district protocols, the parents or guardians of students involved in a physical altercation are notified and informed of the option to file a police report should they choose. Should they choose to file a police report, school resource officers are made available to the parents or guardians either at that time or they can schedule an appointment if they choose at a later date. These practices were followed during this incident, which makes sense because the school resource officer did go to the hospital to take that report. Physical altercations between students are unacceptable. Any student or students engaging in such action, jeopardizing the safety of others, will receive disciplinary consequences. These consequences can include out-of-school suspension for first offense. Due to federal privacy laws, we are unable to disclose the exact nature of disciplinary action taken against any student. That information can only be given to the parents or guardians of the student being disciplined. Any notion that the district has ignored disciplinary action toward those involved is simply untrue. Additional counseling services were provided to students at the high school on Friday, February 9th, and continue to be available for all students and staff. We understand that for many, additional questions remain. However, these are the facts that we are able to communicate at this juncture. We will continue to cooperate fully with the Owasso Police Department's investigation. The loss of a student, a member of the Ram family, and the Owasso community is devastating. We recognize the impact that this event has had on the entire school community and it is our priority to foster an environment where everyone feels heard, supported, and safe. If there is ever a concern about student safety or well-being, please reach out to a teacher, counselor, or principal at your child's school. As we continue to mourn the loss of this student, our hearts go out to their family, and they will continue to be in our prayers. We are here to support them and everyone who has been affected by this situation. Right, Lisa, that's what I said. Nex had said in their text message to family that they weren't sure where those girls went. However, I'm sure with interviews with the other students in the bathroom and the staff member or members, they were probably able to, identify who they were. The same culture that allowed and encouraged this child to be beaten is circling the wagons to hide why they died. Do I want that to be the truth? No. But that's what my gut is screaming at me. So if parents want to file a police report, the SRO will get a hold to schedule an appointment. Yeah, I wondered, that was weird wording. Oh, let's schedule an appointment. I'm guessing, some parents may not know immediately if they want to press charges, but so in that case, you know what I mean? Like if it was a few days later. But yeah, I would definitely go right to the police station too. Yeah, Remy. And the text next says scrapes and bruises, injection for pain, which is odd, but it's stated may have a concussion. It's not a maybe thing. Either it's a concussion or not. Yeah, very true. They're pulling the old okey doke. Hey, Gladys. Good to see you. And I'm curious what age. I'm going to actually look this up quickly. Maybe somebody in chat knows. How old can you be to be charged as an adult? I'm going to just look this up quick. Okay, so it says only under very serious circumstances are minors charged as adults in Oklahoma. Under state law, teens as young as 13 are tried as adults if they are charged with first-degree murder. So that has to do with murder. So I don't know if you can be charged. I know, so it says Oklahoma statutes, a 13 or 14-year-old charged with first-degree murder is considered an adult. Oh, here, let me check this out. This is from... Okay, so it says, well, older teens aged 15, 16, or 17 are not eligible for the provisions of the Youthful Offender Program. Minors aged 13 or 14, well, that has to do with murder again. I don't see anything about assault. But there we go. I mean, if it is deemed that this was a homicide, those three offenders, depending on their age, if they are 13 or older, could be charged as an adult in Oklahoma. Yeah, true. It wouldn't be first degree. Right, Mr. Nobody. And I know that's kind of, how it's in some cases it's being spun is that Nex, even though the girls started it by berating and harassing, that because Nex chose to pour water or throw water, whatever, at these girls because they were being jerks. Some are already spinning it as, well, maybe Nex shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, no one has the right to put their hands on anyone, regardless of what they do to you. No one does. Oh, I agree, Mr. Nobody, if it did go to trial. Right, Lindsay. I said as much. Okay, so the Oklahoman paper says as of 4 hours, USA Today, 1 hour, medical examiner was still working on the investigation, but police said it wasn't due to trauma. Law enforcement shouldn't make that statement without the medical examiner. So the medical examiner did state that the injuries sustained in the altercation were not the cause of death. However, there was no cause of death determined. So that is the word from the medical examiner. Actually, I'm going to just look at, give me 1 second, Oklahoma. Okay, so here's ABC Chicago. I'm going to share this instead. This was as of 40 some minutes ago. So I'm thinking this is where, oh, for crying out loud. So it does say Oklahoma police don't believe non-binary student Nex Benedict died from physical altercation. Investigators in Owasso, Oklahoma are investigating the death of Nex Benedict. So it says on Wednesday, which is today, Owasso police shared an update on the ongoing investigation and noted that a complete autopsy was performed on the student by the medical examiner. Police said the autopsy did not indicate that the student died as a result of trauma. Preliminary information from the medical examiner's office is that a complete autopsy was performed and indicated that the decedent did not die as a result of trauma, Owasso police said. Further comments on the cause of death are currently pending until toxicology results and other ancillary testing results are received. The official autopsy report will be released at a later date. Let's see. And I think this is all that we've read this before. Yeah. Because then it gets into the school's report as well. Yeah, they're gonna definitely spin it, you know, depending on and actually, well, let me go to, there's one more article I'm going to get to. So I wasn't going to, this was going to be at the end, but this kind of goes along with our discussion. Because I just saw Lisa say, you know, this is Ellie trying to spin a narrative. And so this was from 4 hours ago. And this is from The Independent. Nex Benedict's family to conduct independent investigation into non-binary student's death. Nex was attacked and assaulted in a bathroom by a group of other students. A day later, the Benedict's beautiful child lost their life, families say in statement. Nex Benedict's family say they are conducting an independent, sorry about that. I was trying to zoom in for y'all, but it's not going to let me. So the family is saying they are conducting an independent investigation into the teenager's death after early autopsy results indicated they did not die from trauma. Nex, 16, died on February 8th, one day after they suffered head injuries in a bathroom fight in Owasso High School, Oklahoma. The 10th grader's mother, Sue Benedict, told The Independent in an interview on Monday that they had been bullied by other students for over a year due to their non-binary identity. The Owasso Police Department said in a statement on Wednesday that initial autopsy findings indicated that Nex did not die as a result of trauma. And again, I just read that. Here's another photo of Nex, and oh my gosh, look at that little bean. Oh my gosh, so sad. Oh, we've got a couple more pictures. Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, there we go. So that's the one of the photos I had on my thumbnail. Oh, and it's just the same. It has two of the same. All right, come on. What's happening here? Oh, there we go. In a statement released through their lawyers on Wednesday night, the Benedict family urged police to investigate, quote, all potentially liable parties to do so fully, fairly, and exponentially, end quote. On February 7th, 2024, the Benedict family sent their child, Nex Benedict, to Owasso High School, trusting, like any parent or family member should be able to, that it was a safe environment for their loved one, Oklahoma City-based BB law firm said in a statement. While at Owasso High School, Nex was attacked and assaulted in a bathroom by a group of other students. A day later, the Benedict's beautiful child lost their life. The family said the facts surrounding Nex's death, some of which have not been released publicly, were, quote, troubling at best. The Benedict family called on school, local, state, and national officials to join forces to determine why this happened, to hold those responsible to account, and to ensure it never happens again. Notwithstanding, the family is independently interviewing witnesses and collecting all available evidence. Good for them. According to Owasso police, Nex was involved in a, quote, physical altercation on February 7th. Miss Benedict told The Independent she arrived at the school to find Nex with bruises over their face and eyes and with scratches on the back of their head. Nex told their mother they had been knocked to the ground and had hit their head on the floor. The school district has said it did not notify police and determined that none of the students required emergency medical attention. Miss Benedict took the teenager to a local hospital and they were discharged. Nex collapsed at home the next day after suffering what police described as a medical emergency and was later pronounced dead in St. Francis Pediatric Emergency Room. Text messages published by a Fox affiliate in Oklahoma showed that Nex told a relative that they'd tipped water over 3 girls who had been bullying them. Nex texted that they got jumped by 3 students and that they felt dizzy and nauseous and they may have a concussion. So those are the ones that we had just seen. Miss Benedict told The Independent in an interview this week that the bullying had begun at the beginning of the 2023 school year, months after Republican state lawmakers passed a bill that required public school students to use bathrooms that matched the sex listed on their birth certificates. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt last year signed an executive order defining an individual's sex as the biological sex at birth and has targeted gender-affirming care for trans youth. LGBTQ advocacy groups in Oklahoma have linked Nex's death to the rise of hateful rhetoric and anti-trans legislation that the state legislature has passed. The family said in a statement that it, quote, graciously accepts and appreciates the outpouring of support, thoughts, and prayers from across the nation for the loss of their child. I agree, Sinner. It's clear why Nex was being bullied. Absolutely. Oki says, I know what my son, who is an adult, thank God, did not have to go through this, but he came out when he was 17 as being gay. You don't know how terrifying that is for a mother, fear of them being hurt. Oh, I agree, Lisa. I pray they took pictures too. And based on that article too, with Nex saying that they had fallen and hit their head, again, it's my opinion that the media spinning this as Nex was beaten to death, I don't necessarily agree with. However, because of these girls doing whatever they did to cause Nex to fall and hit their head, they should be held liable. Yeah, I agree. Hate is taught. Absolutely.
The district also says parents and guardians of students involved were, quote, notified and informed of the option to file a police report. Owasso police also released a statement saying Nex did go to the hospital around 3:30 p.m. on the day of the fight when a school resource officer was called. It also says, quote, no report of the incident was made to the Owasso Police Department prior to the notification at the hospital, and that it is not known at this time if the death is related to the incident at the school or not. I spoke with Anna Richardson. She's the mum of an Owasso student. She told me she's planning a vigil for Nex on Sunday in Owasso.
I feel like we need to come together as a community in a very positive way to do something kind and show.
I agree. And that's the thing. Being kind doesn't cost a thing. Not a thing at all. Kindness is free.
Kindness as a first step instead of all of the anger and being outraged.
News of Nex's death is going viral on social media. Brian Paddock, co-founder of rural Oklahoma Pride, told me Nex's death is having a huge impact across the state, and they're holding a vigil in Oklahoma City.
We're going to light a candle in both memory and showing support, not only for that person, but for that person's family, as well as all the other lives that have been affected.
A GoFundMe to help Nex's family has raised nearly $35,000. You can find a link to that on this story on fox23.com. We've also got details of where and when the vigils are happening as well. Covering news that matters, I'm Alex Cash, Fox 23 News.
Not only is this story making waves on social media, but it's also making waves in our state capitol. Here's what non-binary representative Marie Turner.
Yes, 35,000. And that's why with the GoFundMe, when I found the link, it's down to, I think it was around 5,000 when I looked. And I believe it's because they recently had Nex's funeral. So it's my belief that the family may have taken out funds to cover those expenses.
Turner had to say after they called for a moment of silence on the House floor Monday afternoon.
I don't think it's lost on me that we lost a student far too soon in Oklahoma, and that happens often at the rhetoric and the fuel of some of the things that we do here. And so I hope that you'll keep them in your thoughts and your prayers.
We do want to address the huge community reaction to Nex's story. So many of you reached out to us about Nex's name and preferred pronouns.
Initially, we held off on reporting that information because we were still working to get the name and pronouns confirmed through an official source.
We didn't want to risk reporting false information, but now since we do have that information confirmed, we are reporting Nex's name and pronouns, which are they, them, their, as you heard in Alex's story.
We recorded a video giving our viewers a behind-the-scenes look at our process for telling this story.
If you'd like to see that, it's posted on our Fox 23 Facebook page.
Okay, so just a couple more videos. And then actually, there was a comment I wanted to address. I think it was K-Braze. Yes. So K-Braze had said the school should report every altercation that seems sus. In New York State, every incident that happens in a school in New York State has to be reported to New York State. And that is under the Safe Schools Act, which is it's a legislation to prevent school violence. And every year, schools are rated on their prevalence of violence. So you could be a level 1 school, level 2 school, level 3 school, and schools can be placed on probation. They can, it's kind of like, I'm not sure how to describe it, but it was passed in 2000, so it has been around for about 25 years. And it requires any person in New York seeking educational certification, we have to take a course in regards to that. And there was something that actually had talked about having to report incidences to the state, but now I can't find it. Oh, here, I'm going to just share this really quick. And again, this is just for New York State, and this is the Safe Schools Act. And so it's uniform violent incident reporting. In order to effectively deal with the problem of unsafe schools, data must be collected in a systematic and unbiased manner. Each school district, each school building, each person within the school environment must approach the prevention of violence utilizing the policies and procedures outlined within the school safety plan, which are consistent with all other policies within the educational environment. Each violent act must be defined and must be specific in order for the response to violence to be applied evenly throughout the system. Only through such consistency can the data that is collected be useful in helping to evaluate the effectiveness of violence prevention strategies. This section of the legislation that addresses the uniform incident reporting was established by the New York State Education Department and the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services. Schools are required to report annually to the Commissioner of Education on the following: number and type of violent incidents, number of suspensions and other forms of discipline, location where incidents occurred, whether the incident involved a weapon, actions taken by the school, ages and grades of disciplined pupils, and the nature of the victim and victim's age when appropriate. This includes an annual report to the governor and the legislature regarding the prevalence of violent incidences on school grounds and at school-sponsored functions, and inclusion of such information on school report cards. And some schools, and this is where it says number of suspensions and other forms of discipline, I have seen where schools will try not to suspend students. They will do in-school suspension instead, because if you suspend a student, you have to report it to the state. And that can affect funding for your school, which I don't agree with. But this is New York State. So again, I don't know about other states, but New York State, it all goes to the Commissioner of Education. Yes. It seems with the laws that Oklahoma has passed that goes for a trans community, they would be totally biased as to not have to deal with the truth. I agree. And just based on some of the things, like I still can't get over that school officials and employees will be disciplined for not referring to a student by their birth sex. And my question is, how is that going to be enforced? First of all, I can't get over that. Again, what is it hurting? I feel like they have bigger issues that they need to deal with, not whether or not a teacher refers to a student as he when they were biologically born a female. I don't understand it.
New at 4 in Oklahoma School District, clearing up confusion after the death of a student that is now getting nationwide attention.
Oh, clearing up confusion. Okay.
You may have seen this. A 16-year-old in Owasso died a day after getting into a fight at school.
And our KOCO's Megan Mosley joining us live now. Megan, you dug into this today to see what facts you could confirm surrounding this case.
Guy, that's right. There's a lot of information that we do and don't know at this time. Now, we do know an Owasso high school student died the next day after a fight at the school there. But despite online reports, we still don't know what sparked that fight and the cause of death.
And again, we do know, according to Nex, we know what caused the fight, and that was these 3 girls who were harassing and bullying Nex and their friend. Nex then, poured water on said girls, and then that's when the assault happened. So that we have learned, and we have not gotten an official cause of death yet.
Owasso Public Schools releasing new information Tuesday afternoon about
That is a huge school. And actually, that's something I should have looked at when I went. I'm curious how many students they have. Okay, so all schools have a total of about 10,000 students. So let me look up Owasso High School. Okay, 3,000 students. That's a pretty big high school. So 3,000 kids. Good point, Lisa. It'll be enforced when there's a point to be made or an election to win, which is really, really sad.
the death of one of their students. They claim misinformation about the case is spreading online. According to a new timeline provided by the district, a fight broke out in the high school bathroom February 7th. The school says the students were in the bathroom for less than 2 minutes when the fight was broken up by other students and a staff member. School administrators then took statements from the students involved and contacted parents. The district says it followed protocol by recommending a parent send their child to a medical facility for further examination, which they did. The district, per protocol, also informs parents of the option to file a police report. They say these practices were followed at the time of the incident. The next day, the student was pronounced dead after being rushed back to the hospital. Owasso PD saying the medical examiner's office will ultimately release the cause of death. Many of online focus on the student's gender identity, but today we were not able to confirm that student's gender identity.
Now, many in the LGBTQ community are rallying around this case. Coming up tonight at 6, we're actually speaking to a local organization about how they're supporting that student.
Okay, and I just have one more video, and this is regarding Nex's parents who are correcting some errors of misidentifying Nex.
Guys, that's right. And this case is getting so much attention because of Nex's gender identity. Nex's parents now confirming they were non-binary, meaning they didn't exclusively identify as male or female.
Gladys, I actually was thinking the same thing. I don't believe the 2 minutes either. But then again, I mean, things escalate quickly. So, I mean, if I don't know who was in the bathroom first, I'm assuming regardless of who was there first, you know, you have verbal assaults being thrown, and then, you know, Nex pours the water, they push or shove or whatever happened. It could be 2 minutes. But I mean, it's awfully precise, and I'm hoping that the school also has cameras, because that will also help piece together the timeline and what actually happened, at least outside of the bathroom.
As several organizations across our state, from the ACLU of Oklahoma to Rule Oklahoma Pride, gather to speak out about 16-year-old Nex Benedict's death, they say their pronouns were also wrong.
We cover the rural areas of Oklahoma, and Owasso is absolutely one of the rural areas. And we just feel that it's important that our organization speak out.
Nex Benedict is the 16-year-old student who died just one day after a fight in the Owasso High School bathroom. In a statement on this GoFundMe, Nex's mother posted an apology saying, quote, "We are sorry for not using their name correctly, and as the parents, we are still learning the correct forms." They also asked for the public not to judge them as Nex was judged, and to not...
A really cute kid, I've got to say, a really cute kid. And it's really tragic and angering that Nex possibly lost their life for being who they are.
not bully them for their ignorance on the subject. Their parents say the name Nex chose will be on the headstone.
I think that pronouns are an essential fact of who you are. And when we say who you are, it's who you are. It's individualized. It's disrespectful to call me anything other than what I wish to be called.
The school
I agree. I agree with them, because again, it doesn't hurt anybody. It's a respect thing. You know, like I said earlier, if I'm born with the name Emmy, and I ask, you know, I would rather be referred to as Christopher. What does it hurt? I mean, I have students who have, you know, what they want to be referred to, and I forget sometimes, and I apologize, like, I'm so sorry, you know, and then they're usually like, "Oh, it's okay, you know, you're trying, miss." And it is. I mean, it's not like you're asking for something significant. It's this, I don't know.
Confirmed details of the case today, nearly 2 weeks after the fight and Nex's death a day later. But investigators have not yet determined if Nex died as a result from the fight.
And the ME's office will ultimately determine the cause of death. Rule Oklahoma Pride will be holding a candlelight service this Saturday.
Okay, so I just want to see if I've been trying to look at chat as I've been going, so I want to see if there's anything else, or if anybody has questions, if you want me to look anything up. The GoFundMe, again, is in the description of this video, and I know AMAC was sharing it earlier. Oh, there was one more video that I wanted to show, and again, this isn't necessarily related to Nex's case. However, this I thought was important because it gives a little bit of a background as to what school procedures are and how convoluted they can be. This was from Madison, Wisconsin. And this is, let me see if I can find a date. This was from 2021, September 2021. And the title of it was Madison Mom Worried for Son's Safety After School Fight at East High School. When a fight happens, protocol is to go through the district's the district's internal safety and security director before making a decision on whether or not to call police. So I thought this was interesting because it gives a little bit of insight as to what schools may have to do in order to call the police, which
only on NBC 15, a story we've been following all day. We have obtained video showing what appears to be multiple fights happening on the Madison East High School campus.
We're told this video is widely circulating among students, causing parents to wonder if their kids are safe in school.
A Madison East mom says her son is a victim.
What's happening here? Why aren't you moving? Not sure what's happening. Let me try refreshing. It just froze all of a sudden. I guess I'll just leave it like this. I won't make it big screen.
Only on NBC 15, a story we've been following all day. We have obtained video showing what appears to be multiple fights happening on the Madison East High School campus.
We're told this video is widely circulating among students, causing parents to wonder if their kids are safe in school.
A Madison East mom says her son is a victim in one of the fights we just saw. She believes the school should be doing more to help them.
The school didn't call me. The school did not call my husband. The school did not call the police. I reached out to the school when I received a text from my son.
And tonight, the Madison School District is calling this particular assault unacceptable, saying it's working with students and families involved. A school district representative spoke exclusively to our Elizabeth Wattis tonight. Elizabeth, the district is defending its response.
Yeah, John, just last year, MMSD voted to get rid of school resource officers. You may remember that. They say...
Oh, wow. So this, in Wisconsin, this school district had voted to no longer employ school resource officers. So they had them, and then they chose not to have resource officers in the school. That's interesting.
Say they did this to support the social emotional health of students who they say felt uncomfortable having a police officer in school.
Oh my gosh.
So here's the new
Seriously?
plan they have with SROs out of the picture. It's this plan the parents of a student who was punched says is not working. The district, though, sees it differently. Is this safety plan working out how you designed it to, or are there tweaks that need to be made just seeing it in action?
So with every incident, any altercation or issue or anything that happens in our school, what we have is an after action review of that event. And so our safety team will come together and we will walk through the process and how we responded. And we will identify areas for improvement if there are. But no, we believe in what we have going. The big difference is SROs, but we have been able to backfill, by extra training for our security assistants who are in our high schools.
Parents, students who are going to see these from the school district, can they make sure that no...
Exactly, Remy. That's why I kind of hemmed and hawed. I'm sorry, they're uncomfortable with the presence of a police officer? No offense, but that's an, oh well, it's for everyone's safety. Exactly. And I'd be curious to know how physical altercations were when the SRO was in the school versus what the physical altercations are like now after removing the SROs.
know that when their kids come to Madison schools that they are safe here?
All our buildings are safe. Now, is that, will things happen? We hope not, and we're working to prevent them. But yes, there will be incidents. And with each one of these, we learn something more. And with each one of these, we get better in how we respond. And we get better at our focus on the safety and security of the whole child.
Now, Lamont tells me, according to their plan, the student who led the attack could face expulsion.
Now, Elizabeth, are police ever involved when there are conflicts at Madison schools now?
Yes, but not until there are internal conversations with MMSD's new safety and security director. So a little different protocol there. Lamont tells me every case is different, though, but that the district might report an incident to police if a weapon is involved, if a threat is made, or if a physical altercation happens that staff cannot stop. Now, in the assault at East High School last week, Lamont says the teacher in the classroom did try to help when it all started, but they say by the time more staff got there to help, the incident was already over. Live in the studio tonight, Elizabeth Wattis, NBC 15 News.
Now let's take a look at MMSD's safety plan a little bit closer here. First,
oh, it's frozen again. Okay, so we're gonna just stop that because I don't know what's happening. We got the gist of it, what I wanted to show. So again, always look at your school safety plan, what they have in place, because every school may be different. I know in New York, everyone should be following the Safe Schools Act legislation. Remy says our high schools have metal detectors, walk through and handheld, plus cops walking around. I'm a believer that we should protect our children just like or better than banks and government buildings. Agreed. My high school growing up, we didn't have metal detectors, but now every school I've worked in have had metal detectors. And I think it was Corinne had said, I apologize, I thought it was Corinne, about all the doors being locked. So we now have to keep our doors locked at all times, and that prevents other students from coming in when they shouldn't be. All of the doors to, you can get out of the building, but no one is able to get into the building. You have to come through the main vestibule, show ID, all of that. And I'll go through the metal detectors and I'll set it off every so often. And I was like, oh man, can I go home? And they're like, no. But it's interesting. At least they work, I guess, when they go off every so often. K-Bray says, as a teacher, are you supposed to break up a fight or jump in the middle? They don't encourage it. Have I come between two students to prevent them from fighting? Yes. And I have, actually, I think only one. I've only had, well, I didn't have to, but I chose to because a smaller kid was getting pummeled. I did interfere in that one. Like, I just got myself between the person doing the hitting and the kid being hit. And I didn't get hit. They were trying to hit the other kid around me, like go around me. But normally it's you have your walkie and you just say, we need help. And you just stay where you are. And then you have, the SRO, you have all the security monitors, administration. And then some of the male teachers do choose to help in the situation. But I will say that when you need help, it's there almost instantaneously. But it's not encouraged. But if I knew something was happening, I would most definitely get between the two kids. Yeah, teachers can get hurt being in the middle of it, and I think they have rules. They do, but I mean, if I see a kid getting pummeled and there's nobody, I'm waiting for assistance, I'm not going to just watch. I'm just not going to let them. I'm just not going to watch it happen. I just can't. Yeah, we have to do IDs up to, we have a badge thing. Hey, Heather, how are you? The schools in my area have all doors locked. I don't really know about cops, but of course I don't know much of anything when it comes to schooling. No little ones. Corinne says Minnesota has restrictions on RSO in schools, which is even tougher on them as a lot prevention. They are working out kinks on those laws. Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a deterrent to have an RSO in the building. And, you know, to hear that Wisconsin schools voted to no longer have them as a resource because some students felt uncomfortable with their presence. Well, you know, like Remy said, oh well. Oh well. Hey, Just Jake, how are you? Hey, Jen and Green Bean. Our high school got rid of its very respected by students SRO, and overall shenanigans have increased. That's so, I don't. Well, yeah, and like I was just saying, it's almost like a deterrent. You know, I mean, obviously it's still going to happen, but it's not going to happen as often, I would think, because you'd have to be in a place where there isn't, you know, you don't have a police person on campus. I agree, K-Brace. Feelings are out at the window when safety is involved. I know in New York State, they actually, I don't know where it is in the legislature, but there were propositions to have teachers wear body cams. They'd be called teacher cams. I don't know how I feel about that. Especially because you have cameras, you know, everywhere. I don't think you need to teachers have to have a body camera. Oh no, Tasha, that's so sad. I seen a young boy who has autism get beat up every day in the boys' locker room in Houston. The little boy no longer wants to live. That is so sad. Just Jake says, Emmy, I can relate to your stories of educational system. My oldest son teaches middle school and coaches basketball. Younger son is assistant principal at high school and coaches baseball. They deal with so much. Yeah, I could never be an administrator. I give them, you know, 100% respect because they deal with a lot. Good thought, Heather. I really wonder how these kids can learn anything with as much stress as they are under. It's sad. Oh, Grizzly Hood News was reporting it yesterday. I'll have to check it out, Tasha. Thank you. Remy, I have had to make a state complaint, but due to lack of services, however, state complaints will get things moving appropriately. Oh my gosh, K-Braze. One of my teachers would talk like Cartman, always asking if we had any cheesy balls. He was so awesome with a teacher cam. I don't think he would have been a teacher that long. Possibly. In 8th grade, I'll never forget it. One of my teachers would always say, and he actually had it on the wall, and he would just point. He had KISS, KISS, on the wall. And it stood for Keep It Simple, Stupid. And he would say that to us every time we asked a question that he thought was not important or that we should know the answer to. He would always point at the wall, or he'd say, Keep it simple, stupid. Jonesin, are your ears ringing? I did say Cartman because K-Braze brought up one of his teachers would always act like Cartman and say cheesy balls. And so I think, you know, now, like, I feel like that teacher, same thing, like saying, keep it simple, stupid, every time we said something that he thought was stupid, I guess. I mean, that's not okay. Oh, just Jake, he's only been an assistant principal for 2 years and already burnt out. He says his entire day is dealing with negative crap, nothing ever positive, and that's sad. I know the assistant principals, at least in the school I'm at, they are always they deal with the discipline, unless it's something, you know, really egregious. The principal will be involved, or the superintendent even, but the assistant principals are usually the ones that deal with discipline and other student related matters, whereas, you know, the principal is dealing with other stuff. The cool teachers would always make me want to pay attention more. Yes, to be fair, some kids and adults say stupid stuff. I agree. But and again, I haven't forgotten it all these years. That was something that, you know, he would always say to us. Hey, healing time. No worries, better late than never. It's only 7 a.m. here. Oops, I slept in. So is it 7 a.m. on Friday there now? So is it already Friday where you are? All right, everybody. Well, it was a heavy topic, but one that I felt was important. And thank you everyone for being here. I do appreciate it. Oh, your gym teacher always started with every day is a holiday. That's a good way of looking at it. I agree, Remy. Everyone in a school has the opportunity to make a kid's day better, from the custodians to the lunch ladies to the teachers to the bus drivers to, you know, anybody really. Maybe another kid at the bus stop that's not taking the same bus or going to the same place as them, or that they're not friends with. Or, you know, just in general, you know, just asking somebody, hey, how are you? Or, you know, it looks like you might be having a bad day. Is everything all right? Keep it simple, Simon. There we go. That would have been even better. Right, Heather? Just Jake says he deals with all the discipline issues and the parents that come along with them for high school kids who he said have zero respect for their parents, much less him. Yeah, I don't envy that. I will say, though, that the majority of parents that I've had to contact, I would say 99% are supportive and gracious, and some of them are actually really cool to talk to. You know, they're just trying their best, just like everybody else in the world. I know, both of you said the cross guard at the same time. Funny. All right, everybody. Well, I am going to go. I hope you all have a great rest of your day or morning, such as healing time. Just woke up. I will be live tomorrow. I'm going to do, as some of you may or may not know, my channel, I've had my channel for just over a year. So I am going to do a 1-year anniversary live tomorrow. I'm going to get some of my older videos together, and we'll take a look at the first live that I ever did, which I'm so proud of how far I've come, especially with my video editing, even though it's still not great. And the fact that many are still believe that I am behind in their own words. I mean, it's a compliment for sure, but I'm not that good at video editing, let alone AI. So, I mean, I'll take it because it's a compliment, but at the same time, it's not me. Oh, I had a teacher teach me the 6 Ps. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. It's a tongue twister if you say it too fast. The beginning of the dynasty. Maybe. I don't think so. But thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope to see you tomorrow. But if not, have a great rest of your day and weekend if I don't see you by then. But I hope to see y'all tomorrow. I heard that yesterday. I'm like, damn, these folks are reaching. Yeah, I didn't see it until this morning, but I did comment because I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm not that good at video editing. I'm not that good. Anyways, I'm never going to leave if I keep reading chat. So yes. And thank you everyone for being here for this important case. I hope other creators, bigger creators, pick this story up because it is one that is important and that needs to be told. So like I said, have a great rest of your day, morning, night. And if I don't see you on these YouTube streets, I'll see you all on the flip side.